Hello to all you guys out there in YouTube land. Yes, it's me, DR, coming with you with another video about running. Obviously, this is a running channel. So this video, what I want to do is cover some of the typical elements of running jargon that's out there. So running jargon is something that's used a lot, and I want to cover some of the key terms and terminology that's used within running, just to demystify some of the things when we talk about running. Hear a lot about aerobic running or running aerobically. That's a term that's used a lot. So let's talk about what that term means. So when you're running aerobically, it means that you're running at an effort level that is entirely fueled by your aerobic system. Now, the body has three energy systems that it taps into when we're talking about movement: the aerobic system, the lactate system, and the alactic system. So when you're moving at a pace that is entirely fueled by that aerobic system, that's what we're deeming, that's what we call aerobic running. Aerobic running is basically energy created from your cells, and that energy that's created is entirely fueled by oxygen. If there is deficient amount of oxygen, so you have an oxygen deficiency, then you're not running entirely aerobic. You might be using one of the other energy systems to move your body. So it's when that your body's movement is entirely fueled by oxygen or running aerobically. Of course, aerobic energy production isn't just used for exercise. You are constantly using aerobic energy when you're sitting down, when you're walking. Almost all of your energy is produced aerobically. And when we look at the endurance sports, so things from 5 kilometers, the 5K, upwards to marathons and ultra marathons. So an ultra is just anything over marathon distance, so any race that's over 26.2 miles. Over 90% of the energy, and it increases as the distance goes up, but over 90% of the energy used to move your body through those 5K and above efforts, those 5K and above distances, is produced by the aerobic energy system. So you might also have heard the term anaerobic. So anaerobic basically means without oxygen. This doesn't mean there's no oxygen in your cells. There's always oxygen present. It's just the nature of the fact that we breathe and we take in oxygen to fuel ourselves on a regular basis. So there is always oxygen present. But as that oxygen level is insufficient to drive our movement, we start becoming anaerobic. So our bodies start having to create energy without the use of oxygen. The anaerobic system can produce energy very quickly, so it can really quickly meet the deficiency with your aerobic energy system. So it's really used when we need that energy, our body can't get enough from the oxygen, so the anaerobic system kicks in. Now, the anaerobic system is incredibly inefficient and it cannot last forever. Otherwise, people would be able to do things without oxygen for an unlimited period of time, and you can't. So the anaerobic system, there is a clock attached to how long you can start using that system. The anaerobic energy system is perfect for things like jumping, for weightlifting, for sprinting as well. So sprinters are heavily anaerobic in comparison with long distance runners. Some people out there might have heard VO2 max. That's used in Garmin apps and various different smartwatches as a metric of fitness. VO2 just essentially means how much oxygen your body can take in and utilize within a minute. So it's really a measure of efficiency. So let's say you're breathing in 100 liters of oxygen, and for argument's sake, you are using 50% of that. Then 50% of that oxygen is being expelled that you could use. If you could use 60% of that, you could generate more fuel and therefore be more efficient. So that's really what VO2 max is all about. And you improve your VO2 max by improving the amount of oxygen you can get into your system, so your respiratory system and your cardiovascular system. By improving that can improve your VO2 max, but also by improving the amount of oxygen your body can utilize and use within your body. So in short, the higher your VO2 max, the more aerobic energy that you can produce. You also might have come across running economy. Running economy is also a measure of efficiency because it measures how efficiently you use oxygen at various different effort levels. If one runner requires less oxygen to run than a second runner at the same pace, for argument's sake, then the first runner is deemed as more energy efficient, having better running economy than the second runner. There is a debate within the running community as to whether VO2 max or running economy is the best metric to use in terms of efficiency. But my take on it is that both are important. You might have heard of lactic acid. When you're being anaerobic, your body creates lactic acid, and lactic acid was a real kind of stigma thing around the running community for ages. Lactic acid was blamed for lots of things, including fatigue. There is now evidence that the body uses lactic acid for fuel and to create aerobic energy. So as long as there's oxygen present, that lactic can be translated, transmutated into energy. Along with lactic acid, when your body produces that, when you're being anaerobic, your body also produces hydrogen ions. Hydrogen ions do lead to acidosis, and this is the most commonly accepted cause of fatigue. You also might have come across repetitions and intervals. Runners do use repetitions and intervals interchangeably, but the running purists out there actually look at these as two different types of running activity. For most runners, a repetition or an interval is a period of time where you work at a prescribed pace for a descripted level of time, and that then is interspersed with periods of recovery. So for example, you might do 100 meters, run that at your 5k pace, and then you stop moving or do an active recovery, so something like walking, for another 100 meters. So there is a period of time of work and a period of time of recovery. Technically, the repetition is the work and the interval is the recovery period, if you want to be quite pedantic with your language. Interval training really came of age and originated in about the 1920s, the 1930s. It's a way of increasing the stroke volume. That's how much blood the heart is pumping through the body at each given beat. You might also have come across running splits. Running splits is a term that's used by most runners out there. It essentially just means a way of breaking up and segmenting your run. So some people use kilometers as their running splits and will look at their time over each kilometer and say, I've run 5k, so I've run 5 splits, and it's a way of looking at each time and tracking their progress. Some people use miles for exactly the same purpose. Splits can also be used to track your repetitions and your intervals. So you are doing a 400 meter repetition with an interval of 2 minutes of rest, and it's a way of breaking those up as well. Now let's talk about the most misunderstood term in running: tempo running. A tempo run is normally a 10 to 40 minute segment of running where you run at the effort level that you could sustain for no longer than an hour. Coach Jack Daniel popularized this form of training in his running book, Daniel's Running Formula, in which he described tempo as comfortably hard. Another way of describing a tempo effort is a 7 out of 10 using the RPE scale, or around about 16 on the Borg scale. Tempo runs are really a favored run for most runners out there, especially long distance runners. Unfortunately, a lot of runners treat a tempo run like a time trial or like race effort, and that leaves them, one, negating a lot of the benefits that you get from a tempo run, as well as leaving them too exhausted to complete their following workouts. One of my favorite runs out there and favorite running terms. The Fartlet Run, that's Swedish for speed play. As a workout, it is meant to be unstructured. So I've seen people say, I'm doing a fartlet, and it's this structured event, which is basically a combination of repetitions and intervals. And actually, a fartlet is meant to be unstructured. The Swedish call it speed play. Again, it's speed play. It's about playing with speed. So it's about going out on your effort, getting your warm up in firstly, most importantly, and then when you go out and you see a lamppost, picking up the speed to that lamppost. And then once you get to the end of that lamppost, maybe you decelerate down to your recovery pace, and you just have fun on your run, and you enjoy the run with varied degrees of speed, and you play with it. That's the whole point. A fartlet should be a fun run. It's not those hard sessions. It's about going out and enjoying that run, but altering the speed and the pace of your efforts as you go through that run. And that's it from me. Thank you so much for watching this video. If there are any terms that you've come across, any running terms that you've come across that you want me to explain, please feel free to put them in the comments box. Like, share and subscribe if you like this video. Share it with people out there. I think this is one of my favorite videos to make. I think it's going to be really valuable to people, and it was a lot of fun to make it. So thank you guys for watching this video, and have a safe journey wherever you're heading.